Before we can use the handsaw and start cutting away the waste, we need to make sure that we cut it at the right spot and that we don't get any chip out beyond the line. In order to do that, we use a utility knife and we knife all the lines. That's the next step. Make sure that I knife in the right position or the right location. I'm going to start with my tape. I now have a 0 point at the end of the timber. I'm going to put my tape on the 10 on the end. I'm going to take my knife and I'm going to drop my knife in on the 5.5. This will ensure that my dimension is correct. I'm not going to knife where the pencil line is, I'm going to knife where the tape says. So now, without moving the knife, I'm going to bring my straight edge up to the knife. And now I can scribe the lines. 1, 2, 3. Pick up the knife. I don't want to cut across the top of the timber, the top of the tenon, or the top of the timber, and do the other side. Now I can do my 1.5 inch line. And my 3 inch line. I can transfer these right around the end of the timber. Knifing end grain is a little difficult at times. I'm having trouble with my knife following the line, following the straight edge, but it can be done. I did 3 times on the 1.5 inch, and now I'm doing 3 times on the 3 inch line. This top is done with 1 more line on the end. The end will be done. We can do the side. To do this rough adjacent side, I'll put my knife in to the cut line from doing the top and bringing my straight edge up to the knife. This allows me to knife it 3 times. Do my 7.5 reduction. Knife my 45 angle. Although it's not critical, I usually use a straight edge. Then knife the bottom. Parts of this bottom are going to be cut away, but until they're cut away, I'm going to use them. So if I'm going to use them, I'm going to knife them. Putting my knife in the line from the other side, bring my straight edge up to the knife. One side of the fence is thick and one side is narrow. Sometimes when the thick side, you try to use the thick side, you come up, the thick side hits the knife body before the thin side. So I flip it over to make it easier. The bottom is done. The last side to knife is this side. There's 2 lines here and the 45. Put the knife in the cut, bring the straight edge up to the knife, (7.5) line, Last thing to do is the 45. It may be the last thing today because it's starting to sprinkle. And I don't want to get wet. And I don't want my tools to get wet. So now, the entire perimeter of this tenon has been knifed. That way, when we saw away the wood and chisel away the wood, we can chisel that way we can pare away the wood to the knife line. The next step is, where do we start? The layout rule was to lay out 1.5 inches off the reference edge and then 1.5 inches thick. That is also the process of cutting. You don't want to cut away this big chunk of waste and then find out you cut away too much and your tenon's not 1.5 inches thick. So we start on this side and we establish this edge of the tenon to be 1.5 inches off this face from top to bottom first. And then we make the tenon 1.5 inches thick. So your layout rule is also your process rule. It tells you in which order to process your timber. We will begin with the handsaw in the next video.